Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another brand new lesson for our subject, Media and Information Literacy. To start, we will now define what is media and information languages. A key part of media literacy is understanding how the media construct different types of stories, how they shape information in presenting it, and what techniques they use to organize material that otherwise would be chaotic and difficult to understand. It is important to have a basic understanding of the different techniques employed by the media and the codes they use and how to interpret them. It may also be relevant to consider who is producing and arranging the material and how active or interactive the consumers of media and information are, whether their own perceptions impact upon the way information is presented. As we can see here, we have a quotation from Antoinette de Saint-Exupéry. So we have the different means of communication, yet we have failed to communicate. So that is what the meaning of the quotation. Language is the source of misinformation. That is why conveying the message is important with the use of language. How do producers of a media text use different techniques or ways of representing different kinds of information to communicate? The first step in becoming a media information literate is to understand how information, ideas, and meanings are communicated through and by various media and other information providers, such as libraries, archives, museums, and the internet. Each medium has its own language or grammar that works to convey meaning in a unique manner. Media languages. So let us define first what is a language. So a language in media languages pertains to the technical and symbolic ingredients or codes and convention that media and information professionals may select and use in an effort to communicate ideas, information, and knowledge. To define media languages, these are codes, conventions, formats, symbols, and narrative structures that indicate the meaning of media messages to an audience. All media messages are constructed using a particular set of codes and convention. Every medium has its own codes. So there are three types of codes in media languages. In media languages, we use the codes, and codes consist of signs that have meaning, and the meaning are dictated by agreed rules of interpretation. So the three types are the written codes, technical codes, and the symbolic codes. So the first one we have is the written codes. So these are the language style and textual layout. So in media languages, written codes are codes or a format in written language wherein we can see it can give us a lot of other interpretations. So in headlines, for example, when we can see the headline in front of a newspaper, it means that those words are the main article in that newspaper. Okay? And then the captions, when we see a caption, usually it is under a picture, for example. So captions may describe what the picture is all about, or it may give details to what the picture is. Okay, speech bubbles. So speech bubbles are, as you can see in the comics and any animated materials, which we can see there the script or the lines of the different characters, and also the language styles. Okay. So next we have here the technical codes. So the technical codes, these are on the technical side, no, which includes the sound, camera angles, types of shots, and lighting. So one example of technical code is the music to communicate danger in feature film, or high-angle camera shots to create a feeling of power in a photograph. So what are the other technical codes that we can see? For example, if a person on a movie is going to die, no, the filmmaker will give you a premonition on what will happen on that character. So that is one technical code. It will give you a sound, a lonely sound, melancholic sound, and the like. Okay, so that is technical codes. And the last one, we have the symbolic codes. So the symbolic codes includes the language, the dress, actions of characters, or iconic symbols that are easily understood. So one example is a red rose may be used symbolically to convey romance, or a clenched fist may be used to communicate anger. Computer icons and symbols in sports are also belong to this group. Okay? So next, who are the consumers and producers of media? The consumers of media are the audience, while the producers are the media providers. So they are both the what we call the stakeholders. So media languages, who are using or who used media languages? So the first one is the audience. So the audience are the group of consumers for whom a media messages was constructed, as well as anyone else who is exposed to the message. So that audiences are we, no? The consumer of the media. Next, producers, people engaged in the process of creating and putting together media content to make a finished media product. For example, the producers are the content creators. Alright? Next, other stakeholders like the libraries, archives, museums, internet, alternative media, indigenous media, and other relevant information providers. So let's now move on to the grammar of the camera. Okay, so here we're going to discuss the different types of, or what are the different grammar of the camera. First, we have the extreme long shot. A type of shot, for example, is a large crowd scene or a view of scenery as far as the horizon. So this is the extreme long shot. Next, we have the long shot. Long shot is a view of a situation or setting from a distance. So this is the example of a long shot. Next, we have the medium long shot. This shot shows a group of people in interaction with each other. Example, a fight scene with a part of their surroundings in the picture. So here in the picture, we can see the people interacting with each other. So the location is in the Quiapo Church. The next one is the full shot. A full shot is a view of a figure's entire body in order to show action or a constellation of group of characters. Next, medium shot, mid shot, or medium close shot. This shot shows a subject down to his or her chest or waist. Next is the close-up. The close-up is a full screen shot of the object's face, showing the finest nuances of expression. Next is the extreme close-up, detail shot for objects. A shot of a hand, eye, mouth, or object in detail. Next, we have the point of view shot. The first one is the establishing shot, often used at the beginning of a scene to indicate the location or setting. It is usually a long shot taken from a neutral position. Next, point of view shot shows a scene from a perspective of a character or one person. Most newsreel footages are shown from the perspective of the newscaster. Next, over-the-shoulder shot, often used in a dialogue scenes, a frontal view of a dialogue partner from the perspective of someone standing behind and slightly to the side of the other partner, so that parts of both can be seen. Next is the reaction shot. This shot is a short shot of a character's response to an action. Next, we have the insert shot. This shot is a detail shot which quickly gives visual information necessary to understand the meaning of a scene. For example, a newspaper page or a physical detail. Next is the reverse angle shot. A shot from the opposite perspective, for example, after an over-the-shoulder shot. So this is the other one, no? Next is the handheld camera. The handheld camera is not mounted on a tripod. Instead, it is held by the camera person, resulting in less stable shots. So example of these shots are the shots you see when a person is vlogging, right? So as you can see there, the camera is not stable because it is only held by a person's hands. Okay, next, camera angles. So in camera angles, we can see here the aerial shot, or the high angle, or the overhead. So this shot is a long or extreme long shot of the ground from the air. Next, high angle shot shows people or objects from above or higher than the eye level. Camera angles. The next one we have here is the low angle shot or below shot. This shot shows people or objects from below the eye level. Next, eye level shots. So in eye level shots, views a person from the level of a person's eyes. Okay. Next, let's move on to the different camera movements. First, we have the panning shot. Panning shot is a shot wherein the camera pans from or it moves from horizontally from left to right or vice versa across the picture. Next, we have the tilt shot. Tilt shot is a shot wherein the camera pans or moves horizontally. From the camera tilts up, it moves upwards, or tilts down, it moves downwards across a vertical line, left to right or vice versa across the picture. Next, we have the tracking shot. Tracking shot allows the camera follows along next or behind a moving object or person. So that is a tracking shot. Next one, we have zoom. Okay, the stationary camera approaches a subject by zooming in or moves away from by zooming out. So next we have here the different the rules to make your photos better.
3, 2, 1.
Number 1 is the rule of thirds. So there is no fixed rule in photography, but there are guidelines which can help us to enhance the impact of our photos. Number 1 is the rule of thirds. Imagine that your image is divided into 9 equal segments, 2 vertical and 2 horizontal lines. The rule of thirds says that you should position the most important element of your scene along with these lines, or at the point where they intersect. Okay, so you can use this rule of thirds on your cell phone by activating the grid on your cell phone. So they say that you take a good picture where you put your subject on the intersecting lines, like this one. Next is leading lines. Leading lines is when we look at a photo and our eye is naturally drawn along lines. By thinking how you place these lines in your composition, you can affect the way you use the image, pulling us into the picture towards the subject or a journey through the scene. So as we can see here, there are the photographer uses the lines center to this object. Okay, so the object is the old man, and then the leading lines are the different lines, as you can see here, the railroad, the road, and also the grass. Okay, so let's move on to the next. We have the symmetry and patterns. Okay, so we are surrounded by symmetry and patterns, both natural and man-made. They can make for every eye-catching composition, particularly in situations where they are not expected. Another great way to use them is to break the symmetry or pattern in some way,
3, 2,
introducing tension and focal point to the scene. Okay? So as you can see here, when we say symmetry and patterns, the ones that you can see in the left can also be seen in the right. Okay? Next, we have the framing. Okay, so as you can see here, framing. The world is full of objects which make perfect natural frames, such as trees, archways, and holes. By placing these around the edge of a composition, you help to isolate the main subject from the outside world. The result is a more focused image which draws your eye naturally to the main point of the interest. So, as you can see here, the natural frames here is the windows of the train, and the subjects are the persons inside the train. Remember, if you find a great composition that contradicts rules, ignore them. Just go ahead and shoot it anyway. So there is no, these are just guides to make your photos a lot more better than the normal photos that you take. Okay? So I do hope that you understand everything from our lesson for today. And that's our lesson for today, and I will see you again next week. Goodbye and God bless.